Good afternoon, everyone. This is Zach Sherman. While David's loading his presentation up, I will introduce myself. I'm a field application engineer with EtherWAN, and today David will be the main presenter with me adding little bits. David, care to introduce yourself?
All right, good morning or afternoon, everybody. My name is David Choi. I'm a product manager with EtherWAN's Systems, and as Zach introduced himself, Zach will be co-presenting along with me, and he is a field application engineer for us. So today, we're very happy to have you join us on our weekly webinar that we've been doing for the past several weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to give you some more insight on one of the topics that we're very passionate about, which is called VLANs. Which stands for Virtual LAN, or Virtual Local Area Network. And feel like it's a perfect theme for today's environment, as everybody's going pretty much virtual. So let's go virtual. All right. All right, a little bit of housekeeping. So with this COVID-19 update, we're all in this together, and we wanted to convey the message that we're here in it with you, and whatever help you need in terms of products or networking, we're willing to help you in any way that we can. With these weekly webinars, it's a great opportunity to gear up on your technical knowledge. And as a reminder, EtherWAN supplies networking equipment for critical infrastructure, and we have inventory on most of the items for immediate delivery. All right, so as we've been doing, at the end of the webinar, we'll have a little brief survey, and we'll be randomly choosing a winner to give you an Amazon gift card, or if you choose to do so, some Clorox wipes. We did a couple weeks ago something for an Amazon gift card or toilet paper, and we almost got an offer to send the toilet paper, but we sent the gift card instead. So if you choose to do so, we'll send you some wipes. And congratulations to the last two winners, Luis Vega from Plugout and Jimmy Collar from the city of Ventura. So briefly, who is EtherWAN? So EtherWAN is a company that was started by NASA engineers 20 years ago. At the time, they needed to make some switches or products that were able to work in all types of environments. So that's how EtherWAN got started. So we've been in business for over 20 years. We specialize in hardened grade products for extreme environments. So we offer a lifetime warranty on all hardened products. We offer free US-based technical support, free networking training, both online and on site. We do our own manufacturing. So we design our own products and manufacture our own stuff. So we control everything and we're not reliant on contract manufacturers. We are TA compliant for government projects. Our products are not made in China. So we are compliant for TA. We also have unique features to help you implement your networks for unique applications. We have patented technology, Power over Link and Easy Link, and we'll get into those technologies in other webinars subsequently. All right, so moving on to our topic. As most of you already know, or most of you are already doing, we have been remote or virtual, and to that point, we are reliant on our home network connection to be rock solid, correct? So in the same light, your network needs to be solid, which brings us to one of the fundamental features to create a solid network, which is VLANs, or stands for virtual LAN. So imagine a classroom. In this classroom, there are 3 groups, with each group having specific assignments to accomplish. Let's say the groups are math, history, and biology groups, all looking for different instructions and having different goals. But the students are not sitting together with their respective groups. So when the professor gives out instructions, the professor has to shout out the instructions to all 3 groups. So what does this do? It wastes every student's time and creates confusion. When the professor shouts out the instructions to all of the students, that's the equivalent of what we call a broadcast message. And the entire body of students is the broadcast domain. And all of these students mixed together is what we would call a flat network. Now, if there was only about 10 to 15 students, it wouldn't be that bad. But what if we have over 100 students? By having more devices on the network, these broadcast messages start to bog down the network performance. Oops, sorry about that. So now, let's imagine if the students were sitting in their respective groups. The professor is now able to go to each group and deliver only the instructions that the particular group needs to hear. Now, the broadcast messages are restricted to each particular group, which is their own respective broadcast domain. So even though the students are now still in the same physical building, they are now separated into groups. So this is what we call the concept of VLANs. I'm going to do a quick poll. How many of you currently utilize VLANs? Hey, Zach, is the poll going up?
We got 47 answers that say yes and 25 answers that say no.
Okay, awesome. All right, give it another couple of seconds. Right. Okay, so what is a VLAN? So let's first start with the LAN portion of this word. A LAN could be defined as a grouping together of two or more devices on a network, or in our classroom example, two or more students gathered together. So when two students are gathered together, they're creating a local area network. A VLAN is a subnetwork which can group together collections of devices. So in this example, if the blue students, let's say they're in the math group, they're on the right, are in a Zoom meeting with another group of math group or blue students in a separate building, are they in the same VLAN? The answer is yes. This is to highlight the fact that when you're using a VLAN, the VLAN that you're using does not have to be limited to a single physical switch. Okay. So what is a VLAN? VLANs make it easy for network admins to separate a single network into multiple groups. So what this allows them to do is to match the functional and security requirements of their system. So in the classroom example, obviously math, history, and biology, all three groups are very different, and they have different needs, and they need to hear different instructions, right? So by having VLANs, it allows them to match those requirements. No new cabling or major changes in the network infrastructure is necessary. So if you already have cabling, already plugged them into the switch, no need to rewire everything, just have to go into the switch and make the necessary configuration changes. There's multiple benefits to VLANs. So in the classroom example, one benefit is that the professor is now able to provide separate instructions to each group. So that equates to a smaller broadcast. Security, each group is now separated from each other. So they don't have to listen to one another. They don't need to know what's going on in each other's group. Each group has their own function. So instead of managing the entire classroom, it's easier for the professor to manage each group. And because each group is now smaller, each group now can grow without having to worry about the professor managing everybody at the same time. So from a technical standpoint or technical point of view, so VLANs reduce broadcast traffic. VLANs provide security by separating portions of the network from each other. They allow for simpler management because now similar devices are grouped together into the same VLAN. VLANs allow your network to grow. So if you're planning to implement your network so that it's scalable for the future, VLANs will allow you to do that. Then another note, VLANs allow for higher priorities to given to a needy network. So let's say cameras. So if you have a whole bunch of 4K cameras on your network, they're going to be hogging up a lot of bandwidth. So the lesson here is VLANs will allow you to begin to give priorities to high bandwidth devices like this. So the lesson is don't be a bandwidth hog. So what does a network look like with VLANs? On the right, you'll see a network that's physically wired in this way, where each edge switch has a whole bunch of devices connected to it. So that's the actual physical representation of how the network
You're
is
breaking
wired.
up a little bit on the sound.
Sorry. How do I sound now? At the bottom is the same exact network that's wired physically, but this is a logical representation of how the network would look if VLANs were implemented. So this is, again, not logical, and this is not how it's capable. It's a virtual representation. So both diagrams to the right are the same exact physical network. The upper diagram is like the classroom before the groups, And the lower diagram shows the groups formed with VLANs. This is also known as, again, the logical diagram of the network. So an example of a VLAN. We could create VLANs for VoIP phones, for cameras, for LANs, and also for management. So one thing to note about management is an admin might want to configure each switch, which would include setting up specific VLANs in which a management VLAN can be utilized to keep it separate and secure. So you could create IDs for each VLAN. And as a general rule, no more than about 120 devices per VLAN. And this is so that you can reduce the broadcast traffic per VLAN. We had an example, an application of a customer who installed a middle-sized network. And in the beginning, it was a flat network, and they were complaining that the network bandwidth was too high. After we helped them implement VLANs with a structure similar to this, the utilization went down to around 25%. So there are real benefits to using VLANs on your network. Looking at a VLAN example in a building, in this diagram, this is actually a virtual representation of what the floors would look like. Now, in a building like this, for a company, engineering, marketing, HR, sales, and support, they might all be sitting on different floors. So engineers could really sit on all 5 floors, but by implementing VLANs, it actually makes it look like they're in a single floor grouped together. So one thing to note is that you should not create a VLAN for each cubicle or user. So if a company had, let's say, 200 employees, that would be actually creating 200 VLANs, and you don't want to be doing that. One other example is a larger VLAN example, and this is something that's worked well for us. So there's a city with 167 intersections, and there's over 800 devices total, and 5 types of devices per intersection. So within the 8 zones, we have 5 VLANs for each zone for a total of 40 VLANs. And we give this example because we work with cities directly a lot. And when you get to a large network like this, dividing up the city into different zones, and each zone having their own set of intersections and having a set of VLANs for each zone works very well, and it helps the city run the network pretty smoothly. All right, so that is, those are some examples or applications of VLANs being implemented. And we're going to get a little bit more technical at this point. So a little tech talk, and I'm going to turn it over to Zach for the
Dave,
next
would you
few
please
slides.
still flip through them when I give you a shot? All right, next slide, please.
Sure.
Okay, so it's important to know that there are a couple of different types of VLAN ports out there. It gets a little bit confusing. The first one is easy. It's a trunk port. It's a member of all the VLANs in that particular switch. Press down. Second is an access port. It is a member of only one VLAN on that switch. And third, a hybrid, which is a member of several, but not all the VLANs. Next. There's also 2 types of VLANs out there. There are tag-based and untagged based. So untagged is basically port-based VLANs. For me, I learned it as this is only significant to that switch. It is not significant to the network. For tagged VLAN, that means every switch that can recognize VLANs will treat it like that particular VLAN. So it's locally significant versus globally significant. The cons, each VLAN will need a specific port in untagged or port-based in order to get back to a root switch. So you can run out of ports really fast. Versus tagged VLANs, where you end up with that trunk port, now you can have all the ports going back, or all the VLANs going back to your network operating center. Next slide, please. Here is an example of untagged ports and what we're actually talking about here. Basically, you have all of those call boxes, the red ones, are on VLAN 2, and all of the cameras are on VLAN 1. Each of those VLANs needs to have a port dedicated for the in-between link so that all those cameras are on one VLAN because it's port-based. The traffic between the fiber port and the two, sorry, I don't have the VLAN 1 traffic only and VLAN 2 traffic only ports have to be paired. So if you have another set of things, like let's say you have wireless access points, now you need to use a third port in order to get them between the two switches. Next slide. With tag-based VLANs, you can use one port, and then the switch itself will put them into the right ports in terms of their outbound or inbound egress and ingress. Go ahead, next slide. And that's basically the two types of VLANs that are out there. Again, the tag base is globally significant. It's 802.3Q, 802.1Q, where it's actually tagging the packet. It's giving it a number, VLAN 10, VLAN whatever, and then it's passing it on, and everything else is looking for that VLAN. It only goes to the right ports. Versus the port-based, if everything isn't perfect, it's not going to go from one switch to the other. Back to you, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Zach. So VLANs are available for all of our managed switches. We have switches, both PoE and non-PoE, and both on office grade and hardened grade. As a reminder, hardened grade products can operate in -40 to 167 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And just a quick slide on why would you want to go managed. So managed switches allow for advanced configuration, such as VLANs and QoS, which go hand in hand with VLANs to optimize network performance, redundancy monitoring, security, and we do some routing features with our managed switches that are, we call light layer 3. We do have full layer 3 as well. And we have useful features such as a PoE watchdog on our PoE switches on train ports. If you want to learn more about various topics on networking, we offer free networking training both on site, not at the moment, obviously, because of this global situation, but when things do free up, we'll be more than willing and very happy to come to you for on-site training. You can also register for free on our academy.etherwan.com academy site for ITS and security focused training material. And some of those courses are actually Big C certified for continuing education credits. So you're able to earn those credits as well if you need to do so. And this is available on both desktop and mobile. All right, so a quick poll again. So I'll give a couple of minutes here. All right, so how are we doing? Okay. A few more seconds. All right. So we're going to give some takeaways. So takeaways are, the most important is VLANs reduce broadcast domains, and that's crucial for your network performance. VLANs provide security by separating groups, simpler management through similar devices that are grouped together. And this grouping allows for growth of your network in the future. And in conjunction with some other technologies, VLANs allow for high bandwidth devices to be managed more effectively. Lastly, why would you choose EtherWAN? We offer high power budgets on our PoE switches, along with compatibility now for the newest protocol that just got standardized last year, 802.3 BT, or they call it 4-pair PoE. And this is perfect for PoE lighting and high power PTZ cameras that have the super duper heater and blower built in. Second, we offer managed and unmanaged switches to cover our bases for both PoE and non-PoE. One of the reasons in a security network is to have a network is to control access to the valuable equipment, access to buildings, or at least know who is accessing them. So an unmanaged switch then becomes the weakest point in the network, as anyone can have access to it. So a managed switch can be used to limit who has network access, and it can also be used to send alerts and alarms if the network is threatened. And VLANs, which we covered today, are set within those managed switches, so they offer multiple benefits. Okay, as I mentioned before, we offer both indoor and outdoor solutions, and EtherWAN is a California-based company that excels at supporting our customers. So we will come out and help with initial configurations and deployments, as well as support you if you have any problems at no additional cost to you. And if you're interested in learning more, we will have more on VLANs in an upcoming webinar in the future. And next week's topic will be utilizing existing copper infrastructure. That concludes the webinar, and at this point, we can take some questions.
If you have questions, just type them into the chat.
Okay.
Nothing's coming across, Dave. You must have done a perfect job.
Oh, thank you.
Doing this for training, are we giving out anything at the end? Well, you can register for the gift card. What are you particularly looking for? That's from Kenneth, by the way.
We'll be sending out a survey.
Ben, I believe we recorded this webinar. We could probably get it to you. When is VLAN 3 used by Edwin? Whenever you want to use VLAN 3. Basically, the number is pretty arbitrary. It's just, we recommend that you use something that's meaningful to you. So for example, maybe you have 3 phones. VLAN 3 would work for 3 phones. Presentation is available on the handout tab. So anybody who wants it, it's up on the right by the chat button, their handout tab. Well, thank you, James. We appreciate that, and we will. Well, if there isn't anything else, should we adjourn?
We should. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Zach. And we really are honored that you can take time out of your day to join us for these weekly webinars. And we're looking forward to seeing you again next week. Right. So with that, we'll stop this webinar, and you all have a great day and a great upcoming weekend.
Thank you very much.